Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at NECA's new Armored Assassin Predator, the Deluxe action figure, which is not a different scale than normal. It's just big because he's a big son of a gun. And that's pretty cool. And it's a bigger price point to go with it. It's I think it runs about $50 everywhere. I'm pretty sure. I don't think it has a whole lot of variants. Sometimes you see like 20 to 25 for the smaller figures. I'm pretty sure this guy's 50 everywhere. Anyway, he's a lot bigger, and you might be thinking he's not big enough to warrant that price. We're going to talk about that because I think it is. I think the price is okay, and that's obviously a big factor in a review. But here's the thing I don't understand, and NECA had no control over this. He's almost naked. Whose idea was it to make the coolest Predator ever, supposedly, naked? Almost naked. It's like Tarzan Predator. I don't know. I mean, is this what you guys are into? I'm curious what you guys think about this design. It's clearly a badass design, but do you like the feet the way they are? Do you like the fact that he's mostly naked? I understand the reason for it fictionally. Do you guys like that as just a character design? I'm very curious. For me, this is nowhere near as cool as what it could have been if they decided to give him some cool armor. I don't know. I don't personally like this design more than anything else. I think it's fine, but I think it would have been cool with armor and stuff rather than a loincloth. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Alright, let's get into the review. This guy stands with his legs bent. Because yes, you could stand him straight up, but you probably wouldn't do that, especially when creatures have, I believe the term is digitigrade. I always say it wrong or think it wrong, I'm not sure. But that extra little, the long metatarsals and then the extra knee type thing. Whenever you have this, it's not really an extra knee type thing. Whenever you have that, you don't typically stand straight up on it. So I'm gonna measure him like this, and you can do with that what you will. He stands about 10 inches with his legs bent, which makes him about 24 centimeters. I'm kind of eyeballing it, but you get the idea. He's a biggin. And here he is up against one of the more average size Predators. That doesn't look great because of the, here you go. He's the same size. No, he's definitely bigger. A lot bigger. Significantly bigger. He's huge. He's a big boy. And because of the way his legs are designed and his little tiny feet, he just, you can't stand him up, you can't balance him. NECA did a terrible job, is what probably most people were expecting to be the case. It's not. NECA absolutely nailed it. It is great. They redid, as far as I can tell, the way all of their joints work from the waist down. It is great. We'll get to it in the articulation, but we have hinges and swivel hinges, which, I mean, it's all standard articulation. There's nothing crazy here, but it all is exceedingly tight and well done. The only issue of looseness at all, and we'll get to the articulation later, is this right here. That little bit of play right there. Everything else, in fact, I cut my finger trying to pose him because he does have some sharp spots on him. His joints are tight. He is not going to be hard to pose at all. Which goes to show what I was saying about the Figure Arts Broly. He doesn't need big feet to balance. It's not a thing. As long as you have two flat surfaces, you can balance a thing. And this is a perfect example. This guy balances wonderfully on his little tiny baby feet. No problem at all. Very, very nice. And that does play into the aesthetic because you can pose this guy and it's going to look sweet. Okay, so on to the aesthetics instead of me rambling. It looks pretty good. I think the skin tone's pretty accurate. I like it. It's got a little bit of the, it's called subsurface scattering, where the light bounces off the material but also into it just a little bit, like real flesh. And that looks really nice. It looks good. They did do a nice job with the red paint. However, I do believe the red should be significantly more red and less of like a burgundy. I'm pretty sure I remember it that way, and then when I looked up the reference material, everything's in the dark, but there are some scenes where it's pretty light, and the red looks like it should be a lot brighter, a lot more red, like a crimson rather than a burgundy. That is up for some debate though, because like I said, a lot of the scenes are really dark, and you could debate that. Otherwise, it looks really good. The only thing that stands out to me is, and my buddy pointed this out, in some scenes, this guy has like a golden tusk up here. I think it's this one. I don't know what's up with that. I don't remember that, but it's there in some of the scenes, and it's not in others. So I don't know what's up with that. This does not have it, so I don't know. But otherwise, you get your standard NECA paint job. The gauntlets that are on this guy look really nice. He has obviously the two of them. The dreads are, handled the same way they always are. The face, same thing. It all looks really, really good. So no problems there. They do have a dark green wash. It looks like it wasn't just covered everywhere. It wasn't actually washed on. It was actually placed purposefully and that does help it look pretty good. However, I don't know if this is the case, but it's almost as if it's an enamel wash on top of PVC plastic, which it is, because this figure is not painted other than where you see color. And so the problem is, I don't know if you're gonna be able to tell, it comes off and it's sticky. Luckily, it's very, very barely used, and it's only really mostly in recesses. But you can see the shiny bits, that's the wash in there. And it looks good, like I said, but it does come off and is sticky. So I don't know what happened there. Like I said, it's recessed, so you're not gonna have too much trouble with it. But especially on your first go of handling this guy, you are gonna get sticky and you're gonna get green on your hands. So be aware of that, but it does look good and that's fine. So aesthetics on this guy, I think I'm gonna go on the assumption that the red should be brighter. I'm gonna give this guy a 9 out of 10. Otherwise, it looks basically exactly like it should. So it's really good looking. As far as accessories go, we do have two different heads. We have the closed mouth head and we have the open mouth head, and they both look the same, only with the difference in the sculpt, and they both look great, so that's awesome. We have some different hands. We have 2 fist hands and 2 wide open hands. The wide open hands are really cool, so I'd use those, but we do have all of them. It appears that they did not paint the thumbnails or fingernails on the additional hands, at least on mine, so that's definitely a bummer. The fists do not have painted claws. And then we do get 1 blade for his right arm, and 1 little gun for his left arm, and a little tab thingy to fill in the gun hole when you're not using it. So not the most accessories in the world, definitely a reasonable amount, but since the hands are not painted properly on my alternate hands, he's only going to get a 6 out of 10. I'll give it a 7, because the heads are nice, and I don't want the fists personally anyway, but it's worth noting that the fists are not painted properly. That is definitely a bummer. Okay, time for the articulation. It's actually the same as pretty much all your other Preds. The head, let's just pop it off, I'll show you. The head's on a big, nice ball peg, which is how you want to do it, with a straight peg to connect the head to it. So it moves around very nicely, there's no issues there, the neck is all solid. Here, let's see if I can get some green on my finger. I'm not having any luck. It doesn't come off everywhere, I should point it out, but you will get some on your hand. I had to actually wash my hands as I was handling this guy at first, but it's okay, it's not a big deal. Okay, onto the shoulders. We have our standard swivel hinge ball hinges, if you want to call it that. People don't know names of articulation anyway, so it doesn't matter. It's a swivel hinge, so there's a hinge here, and then it rotates. That's your swivel, there's your hinge. Now, when I got this, the shoulder was tucked in, so I assumed it was just a regular shoulder sculpt that didn't work well. But then I realized this is a soft loose piece, which is now messed up on mine because it was tucked in from the factory. But if you pull this out and then pose the arm, you get much better range. Much better range. You can raise the arm up basically all the way. You're gonna have to kind of manipulate the squishiness, that's what she said, but you can raise the arm up wonderfully, and it does hide the sculpt really nicely too, so that's great. So functional arms, no problem. They're just very stiff, and if you don't know about that, you could mess them up a little bit, but otherwise it's fine. You do have a swivel down here in the top joint of the elbow. You get one down here at the bottom joint of the elbow also. So they're essentially 2 swivel hinges, double jointed elbow, and let's see how the range works. Oh, it's wonderful. That's great. That's a really, really good elbow hinge. Very nicely done. So of course you saw you can rotate the forearm. You can of course also rotate the hands as they peg in, and they each have a hinge. For the torso, it's just, I believe it's a single ball peg with a straight peg. It could be a double. It doesn't feel like a double, but it could be. But you get decent range. Mine's got a little schmutz in there that'll probably scratch off. It leans back pretty far. Leans back nicely. And I didn't do anything to these joints, by the way. This is essentially fresh out of the package. Leans forward a little bit, not a ton. Side to side's really good. And then, of course, you have your rotation, which is good. And then we have a ball peg down here for the lower torso, and it has exceptionally good range. NECA really, really put the effort into this guy, and that's why I say I think it's worth the $50, no doubt. Especially given the fact that we buy a lot of things for $20 to $25 that are reusing a million parts, and this is all 100% new. So I think this is easily worth the money, especially since they do have the articulation working wonderfully. Now for the hips, speaking of articulation, you know we've had some issue with hips with NECA. Not at all. Totally different. No issues at all. They're not connected to each other, and they are slightly ratcheted, so he's not going to have any fall over issues. No shelf diving unless you don't balance them well. So very nice. They're essentially ball hinges, but T-jointed hips. They ratchet out to the side as well. You can hear that. Very stiff. This guy's built more like one of their quarter scale figures as opposed to one of their regular ones. So very, very nicely done. Very pleased with that. You get good range. This is a soft enough piece. You're not going to be like doing high kicks and stuff, but it does work. It does work very nicely, especially out to the side. So that's really good. You do get a thigh swivel in there. It's very stiff, but it works. For the knee, we have a swivel hinge up at the top and a regular hinge at the bottom. These boys are tight, very tight. In fact, in order to bend this one, I had to bend this one all the way and use it for leverage. Nothing broke, and I did get it to bend, but they are very, very stiff. They get really good range, but that's also how I cut myself. I literally cut my finger open twice. You can see them. It's healed now because I opened this a couple days ago, but I sliced my finger open on these. So be very, very careful. I'm not going to do it on camera because I don't want to slice myself open again and bleed all over the place, but the knees work wonderfully. There's no looseness at all. He's not going to fall over. Same thing here, another swivel hinge. It'll help you with posability a little bit, the swivel, but the hinge is very stiff and it works. There's a good deal of range. Same thing down here, even this little tiny guy right here. Other than, like I said, there's a little wobble in the swivel, the hinge itself is very stiff, and he has sharp toes. This guy's he's dangerous, but the joints are wonderful. So articulation on this guy for a NECA figure, I'm gonna say, other than the fact that my shoulders were tucked in and it screwed the figure up a little bit, which, I mean, that's gonna happen from the factory. You know, you might get one that's not. You might have a good one, you might have a bad one. I'm gonna give it a 9.5 out of 10. If my shoulders weren't tucked in, I'd be very, very satisfied with the articulation on this guy. And since they were, you can see it kind of scuffed up the plastic right there. But very, very nicely done. Exceptional. I love it. This is the best Predator figure they've made, as far as I'm concerned. Even though it's not the best Predator design, it's still wicked cool, man. All right, on to, no, that was it. We did the articulation. On to the final thoughts. It's wicked cool, man. And it's really, really good. I don't hate the design. I just wish it had armor and stuff. But maybe they'll do that in the next movie if they do one. I don't know if they made any money. I think they did. Anyway, yeah, it's a really cool figure. NECA nailed it overall. Well, I'm like 99% satisfied with this figure. There are a couple things, you know, a little bit of stuff I would change, but it is exactly what it should be. And if you wanted to buy this, you should have no hesitation. You should definitely buy this. Buy more than one. No, I don't know. Just, you want to get it though. It's really cool. It's easily my favorite release from them for the Predators, and I have all of the AVP stuff and I love it, but this guy's really, really nice. So yeah, it's a really strong release, and I definitely recommend it 100%, guys. It's really, really good. So go get yourself one, and that'll do it. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I do have new videos up almost every single day, and thousands of other videos on the channel, so plenty of stuff for you to watch. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, and in the meantime, keep collecting.